The Vietnam War wasn't just about guns and strategy. It was a battle of survival against an invisible enemy. The thick jungles, scorching heat, and constant threat of ambush made every moment feel like a nightmare. Yet what made Vietnam truly unforgettable were the strange, eerie, and unexplainable events that haunted those who fought there. For American soldiers, the jungles of Vietnam were unlike anything they'd seen before. They weren't just fighting an enemy they couldn't see. They were battling the jungle itself. Soldiers reported feeling watched, even when they were sure no one was around. Some claimed the jungle felt alive, almost like it had a will of its own. Local villagers often warned soldiers about spirits and supernatural forces in the forest. At first, these stories were dismissed as folklore, but as days turned into months, the soldiers began to encounter things they couldn't explain. One Marine recounted a chilling event where his entire squad heard footsteps circling their camp late at night. When they investigated, there was no one there. Others described strange lights flickering deep in the jungle, moving too fast and too high to be flashlights. Some even believed these lights were not of this world. Perhaps the most terrifying accounts came from soldiers who swore they saw creatures, things that defied explanation. One of the most infamous stories involves a winged figure, described as nearly 7 feet tall with glowing red eyes. It was spotted near a remote base, and those who saw it described an overwhelming sense of dread. Some compared it to the legendary Mothman, a creature said to appear as an omen of disaster. Whether it was a real being, a hallucination brought on by stress, or something supernatural, those who encountered it never forgot the experience. While the jungles were terrifying, one of the war's greatest mysteries occurred far above ground. On March 16, 1962, Flight 739, a U.S. military charter plane, vanished while carrying 93 soldiers and 11 crew members. The plane was en route to Vietnam when it disappeared over the Pacific. Witnesses on nearby ships reported seeing a sudden flash in the sky, suggesting an explosion. However, no wreckage was ever found, and no distress call was made. To this day, the fate of Flight 739 remains a mystery. Adding to the intrigue, the soldiers aboard the plane were reportedly on a classified mission. Their names are not included on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, raising questions about their true purpose. Families of the missing soldiers have fought for decades for answers, but the U.S. government has remained largely silent. In a war where fear played a major role, the U.S. military turned to psychological tactics. One of their most chilling strategies was Operation Wandering Soul. This operation exploited the Vietnamese belief in restless spirits. At night, American forces played recordings of ghostly wails, crying children, and voices of the dead. These tapes were designed to terrify Viet Cong soldiers, making them believe the souls of their fallen comrades were warning them to leave the battlefield. One of the most famous recordings, Ghost Tape 10, included a message from a supposed dead soldier, pleading with his friends to stop fighting. The eerie nature of these recordings had a mixed effect. Some soldiers reportedly fled their positions, while others stood their ground, unshaken. For some soldiers, the horrors of Vietnam followed them home. Many veterans reported strange dreams and unexplainable events after returning to the U.S. Some believed they had brought back a curse or spirit from the jungle. One veteran recounted waking up to see a shadowy figure standing at the foot of his bed. Another spoke of hearing jungle sounds, like cicadas and footsteps, even though he was thousands of miles away from Vietnam. These stories blurred the line between post-traumatic stress and something darker. The Vietnam War was a conflict filled with shadows, both literal and metaphorical. From the mysterious creatures in the jungle to the unexplained disappearance of Flight 739, the war left behind questions that may never be answered. For those who lived through it, the memories of Vietnam are not just about the battles they fought, but also about the strange, haunting events they witnessed. Were these stories the result of stress and fear, or was there something truly supernatural in the jungles of Vietnam? Even now, decades later, the tales of Vietnam remind us of the thin line between reality and the unknown.